Hello everybody, today we're going to take a quick look at the newest addition to our Bewitched collection, the complete series of Tabitha. This stars Lisa Hartman in the very short-lived series, very short-lived spin-off to Bewitched. Only 12 episodes plus an unaired pilot, all included here on 2 discs. Tabitha is now grown up and is working as a production assistant, one of the producers of a television show, along with her brother Adam, we'll talk about in a little bit, who is included as well. And it is one of those shows, I watched this, I should say, for the first time over the past couple of days. I've never seen this before. Again, it was very short-lived. I've never seen reruns, don't even know if it was a rerun at all. I've never seen it before. Knew this existed, finally picked this up, this set that includes the entire thing and the original unaired pilot. And it was enjoyable, mostly because I'm a huge fan of Bewitched. It's not a very good show, but it could have been a very good show. It's a show that I think was canceled too soon. It's too bad. It really just didn't click with audiences and wasn't doing well in the ratings and got pushed to the Friday night, death slot, because it could have worked out. The feeling and the premise of this show feels like a mixture of Bewitched with the Mary Tyler Moore Show. That's kind of how the structure feels like, with her boss, the executive producer, and also her direct boss, who is the star of this television show they're working on, and Adam. And you have all the roles of the Bewitched, the real just general premise filled out within the framework of a smaller scale, less kind of fleshed out Mary Tyler Moore situation. You have the aunt Minerva, who is very much just filling in for Endora. She is playing that role. Of course, Tabitha is definitely her mother, Samantha. And then the role of Darren is split between her brother Adam and also her boss slash love interest over the course of these few episodes. And it's really just, it's that structure just played out in a different scenario. And it, for the most part, doesn't work very well, but it gets better, and that's what I mean when I talk about how it had potential to be good, because it overall, especially in the very beginning, it feels very stale, very generic. It just really doesn't take the potential of the premise and really do much with it. It feels like a kind of goofy, tired rehash of some of the ideas of Bewitched put into a very generic show, and it just doesn't seem to work very well overall. But as the show moves on, once we get down to split into 2 discs, and I'd say season 1, you could see the disc 1 of this season, you can see why it was canceled. It's just not that entertaining, and the enjoyment I was getting from it was more because I just really like Bewitched. But in itself, I could see it just was not very good quality. But as it went on, once you get down to those last few episodes, you could see that some of the kinks were kind of slowly being worked out. It felt also like by the last few episodes, both the actors and the writers were becoming a little more comfortable with the characters, and it was a show that, which frequently happens in season 1 with a lot of shows, particularly spin-offs, where it was struggling to kind of figure out its identity and what it exactly was. But you got the feeling towards the end that it was getting there, that they were kind of moving on track to figuring themselves out. And it's the kind of show that if it had finished out its first season, I think a season 2 would have been the start of a really good show. It could have been a very good sitcom spin-off to Bewitched. And it just wasn't given that potential because it was taking a little too long to get on the right track for audiences and for the network at the time. So it only lasted those handful episodes, about a half season, and it has again some of those issues that were being worked out a little bit. One, her brother Adam did not need to be there at all. He added nothing into any of the episodes he was in. He was underutilized. It didn't really seem to serve any kind of a purpose, and really just kind of shouldn't have been there. And it felt like towards the end, maybe they were kind of slowly pushing him out a little bit. Other characters that just kind of felt out of place, or too much of a caricature, too much of this cartoony rip-off version of a character they're very obviously based on, started to find their own little their own little niche, their own little way of playing things a little bit better. So it could have improved and worked out really well. So it's sad to see it end, but what we have so far is not that great. Entertaining, especially if you're a Bewitched fan, but really overall quality wise, the writing's pretty bad. A lot of the acting, which partially is to blame on the writing, partially just not quite finding the characters, especially in the beginning, is very hackneyed and just kind of but it improves a lot towards the end again, so where I think it could have been better. This also includes the unaired pilot, the original pilot, which has entirely different actors playing Tabitha and Adam, the siblings, and it has a different setting, an entirely different premise, like a whole different cast, completely different. And I could see why they reworked it. It was an interesting thing to watch as a good, curiosity to check out, but it definitely was not working. You could see that the premise just, I don't know, it wasn't going to click as well. There's nothing against any of the actors in that. They kind of fit the tone of what they're going for with that version of the show. But again, that one, I don't know. It would have been interesting to see more episodes within that to see what would have worked, but it just didn't quite fit what I think they were going for, and I think that's why it was very much reworked. But it's an interesting piece to have. It's cool that it's included in here. It's something fun. But yeah, Tabitha, definitely a show I'll rewatch, I'll revisit, mostly because of my love of Bewitched and everything related to that. But in its own right, it is just a mediocre relic of its time that could have been a lot better. It could have, lived longer, been a great show. So Tabitha, an interesting collection. Definitely pick it up. I would recommend it if you're a Bewitched fan and you're like me, you just have never seen this, never got a hold of this set or anything. It's still very cheap and easy to find. And again, the entire thing from start to finish, plus the unaired pilot, is like 5 hours, so it really doesn't take that long to go through. So that is the latest addition to our Bewitched collection, Tabitha, the complete series.